We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Strong by Design podcast. We're out here in lovely San Diego, and Mike and I are together co-hosting this very special episode, and we're so honored to have you as a listener for this conversation today. Just a quick moment of gratitude to all of our returning listeners. We thank you so much for continuing to pick Strong by Design as one of your podcasts. We just love this opportunity to reach people, to touch people, and to move people in a better direction in life. And if you're a new listener, thank you so much for finding us. And we have a lot of great episodes before this one and a lot more great ones to come. So thank you for that. Be sure to share this episode with a friend or family member who needs to hear this amazing conversation today, because it can definitely move the needle in their lives for sure, as it has for ours, for our life. So our guest today, Mr. John Ruhlin, is somebody that's become a friend. We're on a trip together. We're together a lot, building our relationship, and it ties perfectly into this conversation today. John is the world's leading authority in maximizing customer loyalty through radical generosity. He's the founder and author of Giftology, which you're going to find out a lot about today. He's been featured in places like Fox News, Forbes, Fast Company, Inc., and New York Times. He's while becoming the #1 performer out of 1.5 million sales reps for one of the world's most recognizable brands, Cutco Knives, which I still have some Cutco Knives from my college roommate, who also sold Cutco Knives. He was such a huge fan. I still have leftover ones, and they still work like they did when I got them. John developed a system of using generosity to gain access to elite clients and generate thousands of referrals. So his brand, Giftology, is also the same title of the book. It's a New York Times best-selling book, and you're going to run right out after you listen to this conversation today and probably get it. It's about relationship retention and growth through constant gratitude, and it's honestly finding ways to blow people's minds while filling their hearts with joy and amazement. It's wow factor stuff, and you're deepening those bonds for life. He and his team at Giftology, they create experiences that are truly unforgettable. John's also a terrific man, a friend, and so much fun to be around. He's also a loving husband and father to 4 beautiful girls. The blessings don't stop with John. They just pass through him, and he's made it his life's mission to help others do the same. Welcome, John, to Strong by Design.
Amen to that. That's a very kind introduction, man.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun the last few days.
It has been, man. We've
how about yesterday,
dude?
Want to tell the listeners what the 3 of us did yesterday?
I mean, it still feels a little bit like a dream. Jumping out of a plane at 13,000 feet. It's having to weigh in and make weight.
Right.
I mean, the weigh-in part was one of the funnier part. Like watching Mike take his shirt off, I'm like, I guess I'm taking my shirt off too, because every quarter pound or 0.2 pounds is going to count, and it did.
Yes.
Right.
Mike was at 229.
Well, Chris and I hired a coach, Will Grazione. We've had a podcast with him too. He helped us the last 7 weeks. We both dropped like 11 pounds, but I was right on the edge. I didn't know how strict they were going to be. It was weigh-in time, and they said hard cut off at 2:30. So I took the shirt off, the shoes off, phone out of the pockets. It was 229.9 for me, but yours was crazier because you got.
I woke up at 2:35. It was 234.8. And I was like, crap, like I'm going to, like I carb loaded the last number of days. And I just like all of a sudden went from like, I was at 224. And
oh my gosh.
Wow.
I can fluctuate that much.
Wow.
Because I'd been fasting and whatever else. And so, yeah, when I woke up that weight, I ended up going to the gym, to the Lifetime that we've been working out at, and sweat out. And then, made sure the digestive tract was working multiple times. And sure enough, I came in at 228.8 with my shirt off, which was weird to do that in public lobby, but.
And the funniest, I think, of all of it is our excitement and our joy with each other, and then being shushed by the people that work there.
Yeah, they're like, "Can you quiet down?" Like it was, they were kind of downers a little bit. It was kind of surprising.
A little strict.
They were strict, which I can appreciate on the execution side.
Sure.
But in the lobby, you think like, hey, we're going to build some excitement around this. Is like for most people, it's a bucket list item or a once in a lifetime thing.
Once in a lifetime thing.
Yeah. And you know what's so crazy? Right now we're bonding over this. We did this together. We're experiencing, but it was an amazing experience. And this all ties right into the book and your whole philosophy on just being giving, right, and generosity. So this was a gift.
It was
for
a
the
gift.
guys on the group got set up for us. Actually, a mutual friend, Joel Marion, he paid for the whole thing and has a group of business friends out here just hanging out and setting up these amazing experiences. And then we got to do that together. We get to know each other better. Joel's not looking for anything out of that. He's just connecting people. Relationships are getting built.
Yep.
And we don't always think of it that way.
No, I think Joel's probably one of the best I've ever seen at understanding both the experiential investment and the tangible physical investment. And not just in business, but I've never seen it. Very few people will invest in their friends and high school friends and past relationships and family at the level that he does. And I think that, the core of giftology, people are like, oh, it's trinkets and hats. And it's like, no, none of that stuff. It's actually like, how do you love on relationships, all relationships so that they flourish, so that you get closer. And the cool thing is on trips like this or experiences is like there starts to be like crossover in other relationships that are built, but you always tie back to the person who helped make that introduction or that connection or that relationship happen. Like there's a halo effect,
right?
That radiates to Joel. He feeds off that energy and ends up becoming like somebody that you can't not want to run through walls for because of all of the great things that somebody like that has done for you.
You know what's funny is Joel right now, I know you have something good to say. Joel right now is thinking about the next trip.
Mm-hmm.
He's already planning it. He's already thinking, oh, this is what we need to probably do next time. He's already there, even though we're still in this one enjoying
He's
this.
architected in the next one.
He is. He already is, because that's just how he works, I think.
Yeah. He's a strategic, like most people will plan their own personal family vacation. Maybe they'll plan their business marketing or finance. Very few people have a true relationship plan where they're like, hey, I'm going to invest, in some cases, millions of dollars in these people because I know that the byproduct of that comes back. It's the way God's wired the world. Like if you invest in people and human beings, it comes back tenfold, 100-fold.
Well, it's like you can't outgive God, first of all.
Nope.
And second of all, that can't be the intention. And it's not the intention. The intention really is the relationships. It's not what am I going to get out of this, which was almost what you think could be wrong with traditional gift giving. You look at Christmas time and somebody gives you a plate of cookies and you're like, oh, darn, we forgot that person. We got to get them something. And none of it means anything.
No.
So follow-up question to this is in the corporate world and what you're seeing a lot of companies do, how are they getting it wrong right now as far as the way they're doing their gift giving? Like it's just a line item. And they don't spend as much as that as they do on other areas of the business, and it's probably the most important thing in business.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, there are a lot of things that they do wrong. Almost everything that corporate America does is the opposite of what they should be doing. Like gifting should be done because you want to, not because you have to. Most gifting, almost every business would say they're in the relationship building business, relationships with their employees. Oh, we're all about engagement and culture and clients. Oh, all about, relationship and trust and value. And then when do they love on those relationships? At expected, obligatory times. Hey, it's our anniversary. We've been in business 20 years. We have to give you a gift. Hey, it's Christmas. Have to give you a gift. Hey, you've worked here for 10 years. That's 20,000 hours. Here's some crappy catalog of stuff you don't want from China with a logo on it. Pick this out as a way to commemorate you working here for 20,000 hours. They're essentially investing money to annoy, frustrate, piss off, or guilt their most valuable people, internally and externally. Like if you
sounds awful.
It's the amount of people, like at least corporate America will typically get experience as well. Like if they take their top clients out to dinner, they're not taking them to McDonald's. They're taking them to Morton's or Ruth Chris or Fleming's or Four Seasons. If they take them on a trip, it's not like in a dinghy boat. They're taking them on like amazing cruise ship or to Europe. They're doing things at a level 10, but then they go and they want to invest in a tangible gift. And instead of taking and doing the Super Bowl level of gifts, they're doing the Motel 6 level of gifts. It's like, hey, we just took you to the Super Bowl and to the Masters. Here's a polo shirt with our logo on it. You did $1 million with us. Thank you so much. That's embarrassing.
Right.
No, it makes sense.
Like, we're going to give you a tangible representation that we don't care enough to invest in you. Here. Like, and what do? They say thank you. But where does that go? It ends up at Goodwill. It ends up regifted. It ends up in the trash can. Because you don't want to go wear like UBS's logo on your chest, even if you've spent $10 million with them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so most people in corporate America haven't realized that branding and marketing and gifting are not all the same. Like, if you want to pour into somebody, like if you're going to your best friend's wedding, you'd never put on the Tiffany's vase, compliments of UBS. Like, that'd be the cheesiest, tackiest thing in the world. But we do that in business, and we think we're branding and marketing. And really what we're doing is we're trying to manipulate and turn them into a billboard for us. And so what I love about Joel and guys that get this is if they do a gift, they don't have to put their logo on it. Like Joel does, with us, we'll do these crazy knife sets. People are like, really, knives? I'm like, well, it's actually one of our top ones even 20 years later because most people eat, foodies, have families, all those other things we can cover. But you'll never see myself or a client like Joel put their logo on something. And the reason is if you put your logo on it, typically you're trying to communicate, I'm trying to manipulate and turn you into an advertisement, which means you're less likely to be moved emotionally by that person when you get something like that. And so the amount of people that will say, John, I did Giftology. It doesn't work. We spent $200,000 on promo. And I'm like, did you do Giftology? You follow the recipe, the formula? They're like, well, we did Giftology-ish. And I'm like, imagine if you're baking bread 100,000 times and every time you don't put yeast in, guess what you don't get? You don't get bread. And if you think you're doing Giftology and you don't follow the formula, don't expect to get the result unless you're willing to do the little things that make it land at a deep emotional level versus a check the box at Christmas or check the box at an anniversary or birthday or those sorts of things. So, yeah corporate America's like, they invest billions of dollars to actually get a negative consequence, which is just stupid.
I mean, for the listeners to really get this, I mean, some of the examples in the book and the stories Joel's has told me and some of the things he's personally done. Like, let's just give a few examples. Let's talk about the CEO of the junk removal company.
Yeah.
What did you do? This was before you even had the company, right?
Well, I had the company, but I was still getting going. It was called the Ruhlin Group. I mean, Giftology, it's kind of the overarching brand now. The book came out 5 years ago, and so we renamed the company after the book because it was like nobody knew what the heck the Ruhlin Group was. Giftology
sounds like attorneys at law.
Yeah, it's like what's Ruhlin Group? Like nobody knew what that was. But Giftology, people are like, okay, I kind of get it. But yeah, I went to an event, went to a conference like we all do. And you sometimes hear somebody that you're like, I want them in my corner. Like we all have people in our industry that we're like, if I could get that person as a client, a friend, a mentor, an advisor, an investor, my business would change forever. When I heard Cameron, who was the COO of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, when they went from $2 million to $127 million in 5 years, no debt, I was like, I need him in my corner. So it was an EO event. It was insane. There's 1,200 CEOs from around the world there. It was just wonderful. And I barely qualified to get into this group. I mean, it was like guys were cutting $250,000 checks to bring Kiss in privately because they didn't have budget in the EO funds. I was like, $250,000 to bring in your favorite band just because you wanted, like that was who was there. And I'm, straight off the farm, milking goats. I'm like, how did I get in this room? And so when I saw Cameron, I'm like, I found out he was coming to Cleveland, found out that he loved Brooks Brothers. And I had invited him to the Cavs game. There was lower level seats the night before. It was opening night for the Cavs. And I'm thinking he's going to high five me and give me a hug when I invite him to the game. And his response was the most underwhelming response ever. He's like, I guess I'll go. Nothing else is going on. And in my head, I immediately crystallized, like in business, we all do the same things. When we're going to build a relationship, we invite people to dinner, ball games, rounds of golf, cigars. And none of that's wrong, but they're kind of table stakes. Like nobody's like, oh my gosh, I've never gone to a game before. Oh my gosh, golf, really? Like I've never golfed before. It's like normal. It's not going to wow him. So when I found out he loved Brooks Brothers, I end up, the day before he was flying in, he was going to cancel. Like he's texting me, like my flight's delayed, whatever else. Well, I end up calling my partner. I'm like, we have to do this thing. So we went to Brooks Brothers, bought everything in his size, all the jackets, belts, pants, shoes, everything, and outfitted his Ritz-Carlton hotel room with $7,000 of clothes. it looked like literally like jackets here, suits, belts.
Yeah, it looked like the store.
It looked like the store. And you could tell when Cameron, and I'm like not a big drinker, but I'm like drinking like a triple on the rocks down the lobby because my partner's like, he's going to think you're a stalker. This is the dumbest idea ever. Why do we do this? And Cameron gets in. You could tell he doesn't want to go to dinner or a ball game. He wants to go to bed. He comes back down off the elevator, and his eyes are like the size of silver dollar. He's like, John, I've had a lot of people treat me amazing when I fly private, and I go to Dubai and coach the Sheikh of Qatar, all this stuff. He's like, I've never had anybody that's treated me and made me feel this way. Whatever you want to talk about for as long as you want to talk about it, I'm all ears. So that was a great start to the relationship. What most people don't realize is for 10 years, I continued to invest in that relationship. I sent him the full $12,000 knife set over the course of 10 years. I invested $25,000 in that relationship, one relationship. People are like, dude, you had him at Brooks Brothers. Why'd you keep? I'm like, if I wanted to hire Cameron for 1 year to be a sales rep, it would cost me $2 million and he'd still say no. He doesn't need the money. He's not going to be my rep. But because I chose to invest in that relationship, the ROR, the return on relationship, has been over 50x. All my speaking gigs that when nobody knew who I was, I went from 0 to last year we almost got 6 figures for a keynote. Why? Because Cameron, every time he's double booked, he's like, you need to book John Ruhlin. They're like, who's John Ruhlin? He's like, trust me. So my first 10, 15, 20, 25, $30,000 speaking gigs all came from Cameron. I've never booked with a speaking bureau. They've all come from guys like Cameron. All of his CEO clients, they're like, you got to work with John Ruhlin. They're like, who the frick is John Ruhlin? Giftology, I don't care. He's like, trust me. So like it's produced over 7 figures. So $25,000 to make 7 figures. Like how many times would you want to invest $25,000 to make 7 figures? Like all day, every day, and twice on Sunday, right? But most people, once they get their spouse, once they get their client, once they get their referral partner, they kind of just take them for granted. And our belief is that the core of what we're teaching is when you get somebody that's in your corner is when you pour the gasoline on and say, I'm not doing this because I have to. I'm doing this because I want to. And the other person receives that. And now, like Cameron is doing more in 5 words than I could ever do in 5,000 words. So guys like him and guys like Joel have become sales reps for me, not officially. They don't get commission, but they're inspired. They're my friend. And they're in a position of power and authority, and they go out of their way to make sure that people know what we do, how we do it. And I think most business leaders, if they would understand, like if they poured in their relationships that way, you wouldn't have to have as much marketing and whatever else out there. You'd have other people advocating on your behalf. Yeah,
we heard about you through Joel. I mean, and we're sitting here together and on this trip together. So yeah, connecting people.
Yeah. I mean, when you like Dan was talking about, like you need to rename the brand Giftology to shock your face off. Like when you shock somebody's face off or melt their face off, and then do it again, people realize, oh, that wasn't just like a tactic. That's who they are. Like people are like, how can I do this Giftology thing? And I'm like, yeah, you can do it, but like make it a heart set and a mindset shift. Like go all in on this, not for a day or a month or like. Be the Joel Marion. Be the guy that's going to do this for a decade.
Yeah.
And then come back to me and tell me it wasn't worth it.
Our team would like to thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. And if you're enjoying today's show, please share this episode with at least one friend or family member who will benefit from this message. And please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Go to strongbydesignpodcast.com. That's strongbydesignpodcast.com. Let's get back to the show.
It's interesting. Our culture in the fitness industry kind of has evolved into this, where people are go-givers. You know, they add value to the relationship first, where typical networking, you show up, you do your elevator pitch, and you're there to like get sales. You know, you're just selfish intentions, where this is like the easiest business networking trip ever, because we don't even have to talk business. We're just hanging out, having fun, enjoying experiences, and naturally things like this wind up happening. We didn't have this planned till like a couple days ago, and then we go skydiving together. We're like, all right, let's talk.
Yeah, let's make this happen.
Let's do this. Yeah, I'm interested because one of my all-time favorite books is Give and Take by Adam Grant.
Oh, I love that book.
And we've had like every employee that starts with the company. I just want them to understand and feel it too, that, when you're helping, when you're giving, when you're putting others first, it's going to come around so much bigger and just help you.
Yep.
So
when you can pour into other givers too, like that book helped me understand that like there is still strategy in giving. You don't treat, like I tried to convert everybody that was a taker or a matcher into being a giver.
Right.
And I would send gifts and that's just not who they were.
But givers was a small amount. It was like 10%. Most people were matchers.
Yeah,
and just
majority.
to clarify, it's like you give somebody something, now they're uncomfortable and awkward and need to like owe you something and give the same thing back just so you're even Steven.
Yep.
And then you've got the takers who are a little manipulative, take advantage of people, step on throats to get to the top. And that's what people think. Like, that's how people get successful. They cut corners, take advantage of people. It's like the greedy millionaire kind of stereotype you see on TV.
And there are people that get to the top that way. But the cool part of the book is he did all the stats and said the best people in the world at any profession are givers. Also, the worst in those professions are also givers. And the difference is are you strategic and thoughtful, or do you let people walk all over you? And that was like, it was eye-opening. I quote the book in Giftology because I'm like, that was an eye-opener for me to have my paradigm shifted of like, like you don't have to convert all these takers to being givers or even matchers. Like some people will convert from being a matcher into being a giver. Like they'll rewire themselves. But no, Adam's one of those guys like, we've run in some of the same circles. I haven't spent any time with him, but like if I had a list of 25 people that I want to spend some time with, he would be one of them.
So we got a Giftology idea for you then.
We'll get to work.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Get him in the room with you.
Well, speaking of strategies, one thing you talked a lot about that I don't think a lot of people focus on, especially businesses, is taking care of the family first, and then that takes care of everything else. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I learned that from a lot of what the book Giftology is inspired by a guy named Paul, who was a mentor of mine when I was 20, interned with Cutco, all that kind of stuff. He was my girlfriend's dad, but really he was this rainmaking, kind, radically generous attorney, and he wasn't tactical. Like he just showed up for people. And a lot of the stuff that he did was he would treat the assistant or the receptionist at the same level of respect and kindness as the CEO. It's kind of the idea of that the janitor, like, didn't matter. Like he just treated people well. And not because he was asking for things, it's just who he was.
It's just a great way to be a human being.
Yeah, just a great human. And that really, me growing up poor, like you notice when people are generous all the time because you notice when people are giving and no strings attached. So when I pitched him the knives, I thought he'd buy these $100 pocket knives for all his clients, CEOs. I was hoping anyway that he would. Desperation's kind of sale. It's amazing what you'll do when you're desperate. Like the most awkward conversation in the world, pitch your girlfriend's dad knives. So it's just a weird vibe. But Paul, to his defense, like never made me feel uncomfortable. He encouraged, like he made me feel, because I didn't have really, I had sold blow pops in middle school, but I never really sold anything. And I'm selling these. I mean, these are expensive knives. As 20, like might as well told me the sets were $1 million. So I pitched him the pocket knives, and he was like, John, could I engrave and order 100 of the paring knives? And I'm like, you want to give a bunch of CEO dudes from, financial advisor firms and lumber yards and builders and, whatever, a kitchen tool? That just seemed weird. And I said, why? Paul, I'll sell you 100, whatever. I'll sell you 100 anything. Like, I'm desperate. Like, why though? And he's like, I remember like, cause yesterday he leaned back in his chair. He's 60 at the time. He's like, the reason I have more referrals and deal flow and access, I found out that if you take care of the family and business, everything else takes care of itself. So for me, I start to understand that, like, if somebody wants to get to me, they got to spend a lot of money. Like I like bourbon. You're not going to send me Buffalo Trace and get my attention. You're going to send me Pappy. It's expensive. I have expensive tastes. You have expensive tastes. But if somebody does something for my wife or my kids, who oftentimes are not on the trips, like hanging out with Magic Johnson and doing these crazy things, like the people around the people are usually underappreciated. It's the family, it's the kids, it's the pets, it's the assistant, it's the team. And so I realized early on the reason the knives work so well is like the guys thought they were cool. In the industries we were in, it was basically a middle-aged married white dude club, finance and oil and gas and whatever else. And Paul understood that if he could take care of the family and give them something that was family-centric, not another boondoggle away from the family or not another thing of golf balls or, bourbon or whatever, like he would get the spouse on the side of saying, hey, I see you. I acknowledge you. Like you're a person, engrave the name, all that. And that to this day, like 80% of the gifts that we do are not employee focused or executive focused. They're family focused. And most guys, and really most people in business, men and women, are like, that's weird. Like, can't we just send all of our employees this or all of our clients this? And I'm like, no. Go a little level deeper, and you could invest, instead of investing $10,000, you could invest $1,000 and get $100,000 of value, because you're taking care of people that are oftentimes underappreciated. So that we call it the inner circle now. So most of our focus is, people are like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, that's not weird. It's called being human. It's acknowledging that as humans, we have families and people around us. And like, if you can tap into that, like, the impact goes exponential.
And you mentioned the other night the real estate of the kitchen, family headquarters for like decades.
Yeah. I mean, what's the most valuable? What's the hub of every home worldwide?
It has to be the kitchen. It's where the meals are made. It's where people congregate.
Celebrate
food.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to the Last Supper 2,000 years ago. What did Jesus do before he went to the cross? He got his 12 dudes together, and they broke bread and had bread and wine. What do we do? 3 times a day here, at least.
That's
right.
We get to, where are we hanging out in this beautiful house in La Jolla? Where's the area that's hung out the most? The kitchen. So if you can own, I mean, we just did a project for a client that gave out to their top 40 relationships. One of them was Tony Robbins. And we did one of the $10,000 knife sets, which, Tony could buy 100 of those. Who cares? But the reason it mattered was we engraved all the knives with quotes of wisdom of his, and tied into generational legacy and the idea of breaking bread together, and his future grandkids will fight over these knives. But the 2 square feet on his countertop, or every single person that he celebrates with, and himself, even subconsciously, when he sees that on the counter, is reminded of who. No logo necessary. He's reminded of who, our client who wanted to, christen the partnership and say thank you. That's like some of the most valuable real estate on the planet.
He'll see it every day.
He'll see it every day. And if you can be top of mind, I mean, that's the valuable real estate, right? You want to know, if you can be on top of somebody's mind and in their heart, who do they go out of their way to open doors and refer deals to? The people that are top of mind and the people that they care about. And that's really, at the end of the day, nobody cares about the knives or the gifts or whatever. It's like, how do we connect as human beings in a very relational, very like top of mind? And God's wired us a certain way, and all we're doing is tapping in. Like, people are like, man, this is brilliant. Like, you're inventing all these things. I'm like, Proverbs 18:16, a gift ushers you before kings.
I was going to ask you about that one.
I mean, I didn't invent any of this. I mean, the playbook has been around for thousands of years. It's just, I think, in our modern, very fast-paced Western culture, we forgot about some of the simplistic things that could actually have exponential payoff in our business, because we're like, oh, we're too busy. We need to send another email, another mass this, and it's like, that's not how relationships are built.
No, it's service to others, and just finding unique ways to stand out from everyone else, and obviously do it in a likable, friendly, loving,
fun,
heartfelt, and fun way. There's so many options out there. It's just be a little bit creative.
Well, the cool thing about the being creative part is Giftology is a turnkey. Everything you help with the research. Yeah. Help finding, like, it's a partnership. You're doing it together, but it's not like you got to sit there and come up with every idea yourself, every engraving that's going on the thing. You got a team that helps with all this to really make it a unique gift.
I mean, doing one gift for your spouse or something is not difficult. Like, people are like, I need help with my 50th anniversary gift. I'm like, no, you don't. Your wife or husband has been giving clues for decades. It's all there. They focus on that with 1/10 the amount of energy and effort that you put into your fantasy football league, and you will be a giftologist, and you'll crush it, and you'll do way better than I would do, because you know the person, or you should know the person. You just have to listen and learn, and like, anybody can be good at this. If a farm kid that was milking goats, whose love language isn't gifting, by the way, it's words of affirmation.
Oh, wow.
So, like, people are like, oh, John, you're just good at it naturally.
Well, you're doing really good on the podcast, John.
I really like that shirt.
Dude, just keep it. My wife will tell you, like, I'm a bottomless pit when it comes to, like words of affirmation. But no, the difficult thing is, in business, we all have other things that we need to do. Like, we have operations and relationships. The core of Giftology on our agency side is to help people develop the strategy. Because people are like, oh, I want to order 100 of this from you. And I'm like, no, you're not going to tell us what you're going to order. We're going to help you determine what you should be sending. And oh, by the way, like, the what isn't as important as the who. Like, who are you sending it to? How much are you investing? So developing the whole plan and strategy. And then, like, how do you send 100 gifts or 100 love bombs out in one day? most people logistically can't handle the handwritten notes and the drop shipping and all that. So the core of our agency is that. But I mean, really anybody could take our formula and go do it on their own. If they had like, hey, I got these 3 relationships that are really important. Here's our formula. You can go to giftologysystem.com. You don't have to buy the book. Go to Giftology System and download literally the whole playbook that if we took when we work with the Cubs, it's the same playbook that we take them through, or a solopreneur. And none of it's like rocket science. Like when you look at it, you're like, oh, that's not that difficult. And it's like, no, it's all of the little steps. It's like working out or anything else, like pretty basic, like do this, eat this. It's like, it's not insane. But most people won't do it consistently, and they'll cut corners, and that's why they don't get the results, is because they're like, I'm too busy for that. Can we just type the note? Can we just order it from Amazon? And it's like, no, like when something shows up from Amazon, it doesn't feel the same way as if it came from a person. And so, your tribe can go get the whole playbook for free.
Sweet. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. To help our show reach more listeners just like you, please let us know how we've changed your life by leaving a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Go to strongbydesignpodcast.com. That's strongbydesignpodcast.com. Let's get back to the show.
It all comes back again to like, why do you want to do this? And it was like elevator studio nights last night that we were at. There was a whole panel of millionaire and billionaire real estate, highly successful people.
Yep.
All of them like agreed across the room that relationships and people they knew and their network were all the things that helped their business. And even if they lost everything, that's where they'd start. It was like the number one most important asset.
And why are they doing any of this anyway? Is it just to make the dollar at the end of the day? No, I mean, Aaron Wag said, I do it because it gives me the opportunities to have the experiences I want with my family.
Yep.
It gives me the experience. It gives me the fun. It gives me the stuff, the more relationship bonding and building and good times. And that's what we're all after. We're not, what are we going to sit in a room with all of our money just looking at it going like, yeah.
It always comes down to people.
It's people.
Reinvesting in people.
Right.
Whether it's orphans or family or business friends.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of life comes down to the quality of your relationships. I mean, if you have your health and you have quality relationships, then you tend to be, have true success. You have access to capital and whatever else. But yeah, at the end of the day, like it's like you want to hang out with your family and you want to be able to do cool, unique, fun things, or just have more time with your family. Like a lot of life, no matter what industry you're in or what country you live in, like we're all very connected in like what matters. And oftentimes it's human, it's human to human interaction. And thinking, long term, whether it's faith or multi-generational type stuff. But once again, that comes down to relationships as well.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I've always been a relationship type person, almost to a fault, where I over give of my time or my but it's just because I want people to recognize that I care.
Yep.
About them. I care about what they have to say. I'm trying to be fully present. I'm trying to, and my brother, he's in real estate himself. All of his business in Florida is word of mouth, and he's done. He's not out there like putting up billboards and flyers and stuff. Like everything is like a friend of a friend of a friend, a family member, a son-in-law, a daughter-in-law. It's
in
like
2021 with all of the digital that's possible, which is cool. Like. There's nothing wrong with email lists and Facebook ads. Those are really, really powerful.
Yes.
But oftentimes, most businesses will rise and fall on a few dozen relationships. The Joel Marion steps in and says, hey, I'm going to make the introduction to these 5 people that have lists. A mentor says, you know what, I'm going to make the introduction to this bank and we're going to get you funded for that building project. It's not like, it's great. I mean, I love having, guys that have 10 million followers that are friends. And I, kind of jealous at times where I'm like, man, it'd be cool to have the 10 million followers. But at the end of the day, like it's a handful of people that behind the scenes are, pointing you in the right direction, believing in you, encouraging you. Like for me, that was Paul 20 years ago, was like showing me what generosity looked like. And his life was a great example of like, I want to be him when I'm 60. So he kind of gave me the roadmap of like,
It's cool because it's almost an old-fashioned way. If we go back to our grandparents, the things you're teaching and talking, preaching about was more normal back then. And as we've become less connected online and digitized, it's like now it's actually pretty easy to stand out with just the little things.
handwritten note.
Right. And you had a quote, how you do anything is how you do everything. So it's like all those little touches like really mean a big difference.
Yeah, when somebody gets a handwritten note, it's like everybody gets text messages and Facebook messages, and when it's rare to get something that's old school. Like the handwritten
I got it
note.
on the JetBlue flight on the way out here. I tried the Mint service for the first time. It's like first class for JetBlue.
Yeah.
There was this whole pod, and there was a gift bag waiting there. And then at the end, they brought a handwritten thank you note from the two flight attendants. I was like, I've never seen anything like this. Usually I'm getting yelled at by the flight people because my mask is caved out a little while I was asleep or something.
Yeah. I had an awesome experience on the way out on Southwest. I was flying out through Vegas, connect in Vegas. There's no direct flights. And I land in Vegas, and there's not time to get off the plane. And I wanted to go get, I'd been up since 3:30. I was going to go get a bag of beef jerky or something. And they're like, sorry, we don't have to, you have to stay on the plane. And I was talking to the flight attendant, and she's talking about health and whatever else. And she's like, hey, do you want some of my juice? And I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want any carbs or whatever else. And I said, I'm on keto and da-da-da. And we talked for another 10 minutes, and she gets off because she's going to the next flight. And I'm texting, whatever else. And I look up, and she hands me 2 cheese sticks. She'd gone off the plane, went to one of the Hudson News or whatever, bought some protein, and came all the way back to the plane and hand delivered it to me on the plane. I'm not in first class. There's no first class on Southwest.
That's right.
Right.
My jaw was on the ground over 2 cheese sticks.
Right. That's amazing.
To the point where I posted about it, and
I saw the post. Yeah.
Well, by the time this will come out, the VP somehow is connected to me. One of the reports to the COO, and because I was like, I'm gonna do something fun for her, and he's like, I'll connect you to the COO. We'll make sure she gets a recommendation. All this other stuff, over an act of just old school caring, listening and caring. It's like the handwritten note. Somebody cared enough to put pen to paper.
And she didn't do that to try to get promotion at work.
She had no idea who I was.
Exactly. And look how this is gonna come back for her.
She has no idea. So I'm gonna love bomb the crap out of her and probably the whole department. And I don't know if she'll get promoted. I don't know what's gonna happen. But it was she took the energy and effort, intentionality to say, hey, I can do something here that's special.
Over a 10 or 15 minute conversation with somebody who she didn't know.
She had no idea.
Who made her feel happy or listened to, or it was enjoyable enough where she felt almost like, I really want to help this man.
Yeah. Yeah. She did.
And she did.
It's literally just my jaw was on the ground. I was like, nobody does that.
I'm liking that love bomb term. I'm thinking that needs to be part of the tagline.
Yeah.
Love bomb your most valuable relationships.
Yeah.
Or something love bomb.
People resonate with the word gift makes you think of a wine basket or a gift
Chocolates
tokens, promotional items, trinkets.
But love bomb definitely has a ring to it that just it makes people feel something different. When something like that shows up, you're like, there's a ripple effect of that. So I've been using the word love bomb.
I think I like that better than melt your face off or whatever the other one was.
Well, Joel's like, it's got to be melt your face off. Dan's like, no, it needs to be shock your face off. And I'm like, I like both of those terms, but it has to be, overarching. It has to, at the end of the day, somebody has to hear it and be like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want my clients to experience that. I want my employees to experience that.
It's the jaw drop and the big eyes, like you said, that was a Cameron that when he came down to talk to you, he was wowed. He was shocked. It's an unforgettable type of thing that he'll take that with him forever.
It imprints permanently. Yeah. Those are I feel like there's love bombs, and then that's almost like an atomic love bomb.
Yeah, that was.
Not every experience has to be $7,000.
Right.
Some of it could be the cheese sticks, but it's the energy, effort, intentionality, follow through, little things go and the more you can make that permeate an entire organization. I think Southwest has done it as well as anybody, where their tagline is love, right? I mean, it's the heart, they can't do $7,000 gifts for all their customers, but they can love on their employees and inspire them to go love on their customers in a way that feels, even a little thing can feel like a love bomb, which is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And there's something that all of us individually can do probably on a daily basis to love bomb somebody else. And it, like you said, it could be a cheese stick or it could be something a little bit bigger, but it's just something that the world needs. It needs that ripple effect.
Yeah.
It needs somebody out there throwing out a little something in the pond, and that ripple effect just keeps expanding out because that goodness is contagious.
It does inspire. I mean, when you see other people doing fun, radical things, it makes you say, I mean, it's like the whole pay it forward movement. I mean, like people get inspired and start picking up tabs in line at Starbucks or Chick-fil-A or whatever else. So like, yeah, I mean, kindness breeds other kindness. It doesn't always have to be as calculated and saying, I'm going to reinvest this percentage of the budget. I think in business it should be strategic. It's like we're in business to make a profit. Like none of that's wrong. But I think having that kind of heart set and mindset in all areas of life, whether it's with your spouse or your kids or the random stranger on the, one of my buddies, Hal Elrod, who wrote Miracle Morning, the other day was like walking and, ran into a homeless guy and didn't have any money, but he ended up going and buying him food and ended up getting a few extra things at the convenience store, and they ended up having like a 30-minute conversation, and they hugged it out. And it's just, I think that there's definitely room in the world for more people to go the extra mile on their generosity without wondering how it's going to pay off, just knowing that it's the right thing to do and it will pay off. You might not see it for a decade.
That's right.
So I overheard a voicemail a little bit the other day from your wife and kids, and they just sound super like supportive and happy for you. And it just sounds like you have a great supportive home system where like totally on board, same mindset, getting the idea of generosity because that's who you are. It's one of your core values. What would you say to the listeners who maybe have a spouse or someone who's more of a matcher and don't quite get it yet, other than like read the book, right? And like get with it. Like it's cool to be generous.
Yeah.
But if you've got some of that resistance, like we can't afford to do that, or, like we're trying to save money. Everybody's on this budget of like, and it's selfish intent. It's like, how can I get something out of this, kind of self-driven?
Yeah. I think like anything, I don't have a perfect home life. Like my wife and I disagree on things or where we're going to give or whatever else. But I think like anything, the only thing you can control, you can't control your spouse, you can't control your kids, but you can control how you choose to handle situations. You can choose what you're going to invest, your dollars in, or from a business perspective. And so I think my girls, like they see me doing things, and the action, they start to be inspired. Like they see like me being generous, and now they're like wanting to leave tips in the hotel room and leave thank you notes to the staff because they saw me doing that.
That's awesome.
They see me doing cold plunges. Now they want to do cold plunges. So I think a lot of times we want to preach at our spouse, and I have this thing, like I want to be like, hey, honey, this is what we need to do. And it's like our actions oftentimes will speak more volumes. And I think how we show up for our spouses with generosity, a lot of times we want to get them to do something. And it's like, how about you show up 100% with generosity, no strings attached to them, make them feel that way 100 times over the next year. And oftentimes like that warms people's heart and shifts their perspective on things. So I think as much as I'm guilty of like preaching, our kids pick up, our spouses pick up more what we're actually consistently
doing. Lead by example. Walk the walk.
Yeah.
Start worrying about the board you have in your own eye before you start trying to fix everybody else.
I think that's
one person at a time, right? Starting with you.
And to me, it's like my tendency is to do the big splashy thing. And my wife's even called me out on it. She's like, I don't need the big splashy thing. Show up for me consistently. Show up for me in the day-to-day muck and grind of things. Don't
be on time for a pickup.
Yeah.
Right? Remember we had dinner here.
Like do the little things in those areas versus like my tendency is the wow and the show of doing the crazy love bomb. And I've had to rewire myself on the discipline and consistency. And I think that's had an effect on my wife more than even the big stuff, and even on my kids of like showing up consistently with the little things. But yeah, lead by examples.
That's awesome. I love that answer.
It's the truth, because I've crashed and burned on trying to like convert or do the wow thing, and my wife just she calls a spade. It's like, John, I don't need that.
No, it is the little things, especially when I think about my relationship with my children. It's all the little times that we've had together, not necessarily the big moments, and we've had those too, and those are great. but it's laying on the floor playing Legos. It's those like reading books at night. Yeah. It's all those little moments that were me coaching my son in Little League, and all the extra times we're at the ball field together, just the two of us after everyone's gone.
Yeah.
I'll never forget those moments. And I want to in knowing that and listening to this conversation and being part of this, it's like, what more can I do now to be a better husband to my wife? What more can I do to be the dad that my kids are just, bubbling over and oozing about to their friends because they're just so in love, and it's awesome and it's fun and it's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
We got some work to do when we get home.
We got some work to do.
It's like we've had a week of hanging out, having fun. It's business. Yeah. It is, but we're having a blast. We're getting pampered here. And then we're going home, and we got to show up 100%.
Bring our A game.
Right? It's not going home and going to the gym or being tired. No, it's like, tag, I'm in, take a break.
Yeah, and with wives and really any relationship, I think, as a great opportunity to show up as a just because on random Tuesdays versus like waiting just for the anniversary or the Valentine's Day or the birthday or the Christmas.
Yeah, I love that part of the of the book of conversations that I've heard with you on Born to Impact. It's choose the off-peak times to do
surprising
stuff.
times.
Surprising times.
Not the expectation times.
Right.
Like we do Christmas bonuses, and it was because I thought I was being generous, right? And then I'm like, well, next year now they're definitely expecting something. What am I going to do now? And it's like I'm in this pattern now, and they're expecting it, and now it's become not even a cool, like, generous thing anymore. Now it's just like something that we do.
It's part of the deal. It's part of the salary.
If that bonus came in like October, it'd probably mean a lot more.
It'd be, yeah.
But now they still expect the Christmas one. So.
Yeah. So, rotating things through, whether it's in any relationship, that doesn't mean you don't do bonuses or doesn't mean you don't do things but those, just know those are table stakes. That's like the baseline, bar, whether it's with your spouse or your employees. And I think that we all love to be surprised and delighted with things that are positive. The consistency day to day too matters. It's like not one or the other. It's both and. But I think, going back to the spouse thing, like I used to show up after a trip and be like just demolished and be like, I needed days to recover. And that was like one of the worst, talk about an anti-giftology with my wife. Like,
this is smart. This is good stuff.
You come home ready to like be on your A game and be engaged and have like a game plan. And man, tonight, I'm going to call it an early night because I got an early morning flight, and when I hit the ground, I need to be ready.
I had a friend at church, and they would actually have a day where the husband comes home and stays at a hotel, and him and the wife meet up without the kids, and they kind of debrief and reconnect and get on the same page. And then dad comes home, and he's like all in with the family. Same thing for me. I'm flying back to Clearwater. I got one day where I got to check in at the office, check in at the house, kind of get my head right, and then I'm going up. But it's not going there all tired and excited and everything.
Disney dad. My wife calls it Disney dad. You come in and the kids are all excited and like you throw things off the rhythm and the routine. And
you like mess it up for like 2 days.
Yeah. So like understanding. And I at first I took offense to it. I'd be like, oh, that's mean. Like, what do you mean I'm a Disney dad? Or what do you mean like I'm messing things up? And then, that's ego and pride, right? I mean, it's like, oh, so you have to operate without me here into a rhythm and whatever else. Like, I'm being selfish, thinking like I'm home, like everybody come to me and cater to me. It's like, no, like I have to ease back into their routine of what's going on because there's probably going to be there's another trip coming up and they have to operate and. Yeah, there's been. I
felt it the other way around too, where my wife's been gone for a wedding or a 3-day weekend or something, and like I've got it down, and we're doing good, and we got our system, but it's not the exact system as like when we're together or when she has it, and then she comes back and jumps right in. I'm like, no, that's not what we're doing right now. It's like things have changed. It's like,
honey, it was 72 hours ago. Well, yeah. I know, but it's a new world we're living in.
It's like he's lost 2 teeth. We started ballet. It's like I was gone for 48 hours.
Like, a lot's happened, honey.
You can't blink in this life.
No. Oh, that's funny. That's so funny.
So, obviously, our listeners at this point just want to see more of you, hear more of you. where are some great places that we can have them go to see more from you?
Yeah, Giftology Group is our core website
Yeah.
for the consulting, gifting, strategy, logistics, all of that. And then on Instagram at John Ruhlin is where we post some fun experiences.
They need to know Ruhlin is Ruhlin for all of you listeners.
And definitely pick up the book, Giftology, bestseller, amazing. Rereading it the last couple days, just prepping a little bit for this. Awesome content. Definitely grab that.
Yeah, it's been out 5 years. I committed to doing a 5-year book launch. People thought I was insane. And the book sells more now 5 years later than it did any of the years leading up. We're up to close to 700 reviews on Amazon, and it just keeps
and I don't
coming along.
Ruin the surprise, because the surprise is what makes everything awesome. So I won't say anything more about the book, but you will be pleasantly surprised when it shows up.
Amen.
Yes. Amen. Yeah, it's terrific. It's proudly displayed on my bookshelf at the office too.
All right. Well, we got a boat to catch.
Yeah, we do.
So
yeah, it's a little boat, little yacht to hang out. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun afternoon.
Yeah. We're just getting pulled out there. We're just getting our arms yanked to go out on this.
I guess we'll go.
I know. I guess we'll go. But it's been so much fun. We thank you so much for taking the time on this trip.
Exactly. Thank you for your time. It's something CEOs don't get acknowledged for enough. So your time's your most valuable asset. Mm-hmm. So thanks for that.
Yeah, this has been a blast, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's been awesome. Another wonderful conversation here on Strong by Design. Now's the time to hit that 5 stars. Shoot us a review. We so appreciate it. And we just thank you, new listeners, for finding us. We thank you, return listeners, for being so amazing. And we look forward to another episode next week, as always, here on Strong by Design.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.